Welcome to Intermediate Level English Language Arts. Hi, and welcome to English Language Arts. Today, we are going to discuss a writing activity, right? Writing a friendly letter, right? So, let's jump right into the objectives for this lesson, right? We have three. The first would be to able to know and understand the use of friendly letters and or letters in general. The next is to identify the basic parts of a letter, and then the last is to be able to write a friendly letter. Let's discuss first what are friendly letters. Well, to give you a brief background, letters used to be ways of communication back then. Before, a lot of you viewers right now may not be familiar with letters because right now we do have phones, right? And it's very easy to contact each other through messaging apps such as, for example, Messenger or even DMs and whatnot. But back in the day, to be able to communicate with one another, a person has to write a letter, and it has to be given to a mailman, and that would be usually um, packed and delivered, and usually takes sometimes the quickest would be about a day or two, depending on how far the person is, but sometimes it reaches about months or even years at most. So back then, when you were to write a letter, it isn't like how you give messages these days, where you just simply chat what you think of. In letters, you do really have to compose a letter and do have to make sure that the message is worth your while. Now, friendly letters, right? These are one of the least formal kinds because it's a very personal kind of letter. It's really meant to give a personal message, focus on the message being just one person's thoughts and feelings and well, things that one would like to say to the recipient or to the one who's going to receive the letter. There are a few parts of a letter. I have here a sample, right? This is an excuse letter sample, but we shall use it as a guide so that you guys are able to know the basic parts. So the very first one on top, as you can see, right, this is what you call the header or the heading. So the heading, guys, is made up of three lines. As you can see, it's three lines, and it is usually found at the right side of your paper. So if you're using a stationery, you would usually write this at the right side of the paper. Okay, so you have three lines. The first line is what you call the address line one. In the address line one, you're usually going to put the number of the house, the street where you live in, the number of the apartment, okay, the subdivision where you live, right? The very specific places or very specific parts of your address. Take note, this is the sender's address, your address, the one who is writing. The second line, the address line 2, usually you have to put there the city where you live in or the municipality or the town where you live in, followed by the province. In certain places, like for example, if you're living in the US, usually you have the state. You would put the state and not the province, right? But for the Philippine setting, you usually just include the town or the municipality where you live in or the city that you live in. For my case, it's Mangaldan. I live in the municipality of Mangaldan. And write the province. So for my case, it's Pangasinan. So, of course, it would vary. It would depend on what your address would be. Next, we also have the third line. So over there at the bottom, it's the date, right? So I wrote this letter at September 3, 2020. Yes. So usually you write the date, you put the date there when you wrote the letter. Why is this important? This is important because it is for you to know, or for the recipient, the receiver, the one who's gonna receive the letter, for he or she, for him to, or for her to know when this letter was written. That way, they wouldn't be shocked or surprised about the new things that you write down. Like, for example, you wrote, "Oh, I bought a new car." But then you think, but that car is like really, really old. And then you look at the date. Oh, it was written at this date. That was when it was very new. Okay. You also have the next part, which is the greeting. This is where you put the dear. Uh, in some other letters, especially the least formal ones, sometimes they just put the name of the person that they're sending it to. No need the word dear. Or sometimes they even put just like, for example, my love, or my mom, or mom, right? But this is basically the greeting. You addressing the person you sent it to, that you are talking to them. The next and the most important part is the body, this whole thing over here, right? For me, it's an excuse letter, so therefore the body tells the message of an excuse. But for your case, since this topic is about a friendly letter, this is where you put your personal message to the person you're talking to. Not much to say here because it's personal. So whatever you'd like to say, honestly, it's what you put there. But do take note that the paragraphs that you're gonna put, you must follow how to write the paragraph. So make sure, guys, okay? Make sure that you follow how to write the paragraph. Don't forget your indentions. Don't forget to start with a capital letter. Don't forget to end your sentences with a period. You have two other parts here. The first one is the closing remarks. Closing remarks. Now, the closing remarks, this is usually just, you closing the letter. This is usually where you put a personalized way of how you call each other. Take, for example, this is a letter to a teacher sent to teacher Vince, me, right? So the closing remarks would be your student because the writer of this letter is a student. Okay? For example, you send this letter to your mom, you put there your son, your daughter, your friend if you send it to your friend, your bestie if that's what you guys call each other, right? Whatever it is, right? Even for example, if they call you love, your love, that's what you put. The last part is the signature. Right? This signature, guys, usually you put your own personal signature, but in a lot of cases, you put in your full name. That way, the person knows who it's from. Back in the day, right? This is where they usually put the name of the person who wrote the letter or who it's from, and then that's where they usually put their personal seal or their personal stamp. That's their signature. Later on, turned into signatures, and then even later on, it just became just the personal name. These three parts are no, not three. These one, two, three, four, five parts are found in a personal letter, in a friendly letter. So when you write a friendly letter, make sure you still follow things. All right, and that pretty much ends the topic on a personal letter. Again, just a quick reminder or just a quick recap. A friendly letter is a letter to be given to usually a friend, or it's used. It's a kind of letter that isn't that formal compared to other letters, right? The format still is the same. You have to still treat it like a formal letter in making sure that you do have the other parts, all of the parts still there, with the heading, along with the greeting, the body, the closing remarks, and the signature, right? But as for the message of the letter, since it's a friendly letter, it's just your personal message to the person you're sending. All right? Okay? All right. So that pretty much ends our topic on friendly letters. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.